Ram bolo, Ram bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Ram bolo, Ram bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Ram bolo, Ram bolo. Ram bolo, Ram bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Ram bolo, Ram bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Ram bolo, Ram bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Sing Ram bolo, Ram bolo. Ram bolo, Ram bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Sita bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Ram bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Sita bolo, Ram bolo, Sita bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Ram bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Sita bolo, Ram bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Hanuman bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Ram bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Hanuman bolo, Ram bolo, Hanuman bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Ram bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Hanuman bolo, Ram bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Jaya Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Namo Namah Ram, Namo Namah Ram, Namo Namah Ram. Ram bolo, bolo bolo, 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 Ram. Jaya Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Namo Namah Ram, Namo Namah Ram. Ram, Namo Namah Ram. Sita bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Ram bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Sita bolo, Ram bolo, Sita bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Ram bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Sita bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Ram bolo, Jaya Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram,
Jaya Jaya Ram.
Namo Namah Ram, Namo Namah Ram, Namo Namah Ram. Hanuman bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Ram bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Hanuman bolo, bolo bolo, Ram. Ram bolo, Hanuman bolo, Hanuman bolo, 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 Ram, Ram bolo, Ram bolo, 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 Ram. Hanuman bolo, Hanuman bolo, 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 Ram, Ram bolo, Ram bolo, bolo. Jaya Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Namo Namah Ram, Namo Namah Ram, Namo Namah Ram, Namo Namah Ram. Jaya Jaya Ram,
Jaya Jaya Ram.
Namo Namah Ram. Jaya Jaya Ram, Namo Namah Ram, Namo Namah Ram. Ram bolo, Ram bolo, bolo bolo, 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 Ram. Chandra Bhagavan ki jai.
What a wonderful welcome. Thank you.
Jai Jai
Jai Jai.
Jai Hanuman.
Who wants to sing? Yeah, sing, sing, sing. Yeah.
Bolo, bolo, sab mil bolo, Om Namah Shivaya. Bolo, bolo, Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. झूठ जटा में गंगा धारी, झूठ जटा त्रिशूल धारी, डमरू बजावे त्रिशूल धारी, डम 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 डमरू बजावो, डम डम गोंज उठाओ, नमः शिवाय गोंज उठाओ,
Namah Shivaya.
ओम नमः शिवाय. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. बोलो बोलो सब मिल बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय. बोलो बोलो सब मिल बोलो, बोलो बोलो सब मिल बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय. ओम नमः शिवाय. ओम नमः शिवाय.
Sahadev, are you coming back? Yeah? Yes, please. Yeah.
That's the one we did. Hari Hari Bo, Hari 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 Bo, Hari Hari Bo, Hari 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 Bo, Hari Hari Bo, Hari 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 Bo, Hari 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 Bo, Keshava Madhava Govinda Bo, Keshava Madhava Govinda. Keshava Madhava Govinda Bo, Keshava Madhava Govinda Bo, Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murari, Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murari, Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murari, Shri Krishna Govinda. Hey Nata Narayana Vasudeva, Hey Nata Narayana Vasudeva, Hey Nata Narayana Vasudeva. Hari Hari Bo, Hari 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 Bo, Krishna Hari Hari Bo, Keshava Madhava Govinda Bo, Keshava Madhava Govinda Bo, Keshava Madhava Govinda Bo, Shri Keshava Madhava Govinda Bo, Keshava Madhava Govinda Bo, Keshava Madhava Govinda Bo, Keshava Madhava. Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murari, 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 Hey Nata Narayana Vasudeva, Narayana Vasudeva, Hey Nata Narayana Vasudeva,
Hey Nata Narayana Vasudeva,
Hey Nata Narayana Vasudeva, Hey Nata Narayana Vasudeva, Hey Nata Narayana Vasudeva, Hey Nata Narayana
Vasudeva,
Hey Nata Narayana Vasudeva, Hey Nata Narayana Vasudeva, Hey Nata Narayana Vasudeva. Hey Nata Narayana Vasudeva, 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 Hey Nath Narayana Vasudeva. Hey Nath Narayana Vasudeva.
Wah, wah. Thank you very much. Awesome. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Very nice question. And it is anonymous for reasons that will be revealed shortly. If one of the spouse is ready and the other not ready to take up sannyasa, will the one taking up sannyasa break the vow that he or she took at the time of the marriage? Very wonderful question. Yes. Short answer, yes. That is why the permission has to be sought. That's why, because you have made a commitment, right? You've made a commitment at the time of the marriage. There are 7 rounds around the fire. 7 promises have been made. And so to support each other, etc., etc. And then even though, as I told you earlier, the destiny of both is moksha, but still there is this question of this commitment. And that commitment, the 7 rounds around the fire is for any commitment. Rama and Sugriva held hands and took 7 rounds around the fire to be able to fight the king of Lanka. It was as good as a marriage. Yeah. So that's a very serious commitment in the presence of Agni Devata. Fire is seen, is the first visible manifestation of the elements. Can you see space? No. Can you see air? No. Fire is the first visible manifestation of the elements. Elements are a manifestation of Bhagavan. So the fire is the first visible manifestation of Bhagavan. And so in the Vedic times, fire was regarded as a post-male carrier. So Agni carries all the ahuti, like the spoonfuls of ghee, the little puffed rice, whatever is put, the belief is that he carries it to whoever it is, for whom it is intended. Like you say, Indra Namaha, Indraya Swaha, but you are putting it through Agni only. There is no Indra anywhere discernible. Indra is the king of heaven. So you want overlordship, you want some power, you want to feel good, etc. So you are praying, you're offering to Indra, but then it is through Agni. And because you have loudly said, it is for Indra, Agni is very honest and says, okay, it is not for me. For me it will come later, or I have already been fed. This portion is for Indra, and the belief is that it takes it. So this is, so the fire is a serious manifestation of Bhagavan. And in the fire ritual, you can just keep looking at the fire and all the things it does, and that itself is a meditation. And sometimes you take pictures, the fire looks like Ganesha, the fire looks like Devi. It's just so amazing. The fire, looks like the same things. One photo was there with Pujya Swamiji. I don't know if anybody has seen it. It was just beautiful. The fire made a big Om, huge Om, about 6 feet high it made. And somebody took a picture. And so like this, so the commitment made in the presence of Bhagavan in the form of fire, of course, is there. And that's why the permission has to be taken. If the permission has been taken, and if the other spouse is ready and says, okay, this is fine with me, I'm wholeheartedly giving you the permission to take up this life, and I am okay, then it is not seen as a breach of contract. It is seen as more of a mutual, mutual agreement to dissolve that promise, to say, okay, we don't need this anymore, so it's okay. So if one spouse is not ready, not only for sannyasa, forget that, if not ready to give permission, sannyasa is not given. This is how it is. So the permission from the spouse, and then the mother. If the mother is alive, the mother. The mother is important because the mother has a say over this body. She gave you this body. She held it in her womb. She is the Janani, the giver of life. So for that, the respect is given. Because without this body, what would you renounce? You would not be in a position to renounce anything if you didn't have this body. So the mother's permission is taken. And so that is why it is there. And generally what happens in our culture, the women take the promise more seriously. Generally that's what we find with marriage. Women take the promise more seriously, and it is harder for women to get out of this marriage, vows, etc. And so sannyasa for women is recommended either before the marriage, then it is easy, or at the time of one spouse taking sannyasa, then also it is easy, or after the passing away of the spouse. Those are the conditions for women, because women tend to take this promise very, very seriously. Yeah. But the question is not completely answered, because there is a little bit of doubt here that is expressed. What happens when you break the vow one took at the, because the one taking up sannyasa, will they break the vow taken at the time of marriage? Yes, they will have to break the vow. Now, the one taking the sannyasa might have feelings about breaking the vow. That is why we need to discuss this a little bit further. What is sannyasa? It is letting go. Letting go of even the vows, because the vows were made at a time when they, when the person wasn't ready, and now the person is ready. Ready means has enough of a background, has enough of a background in Vedanta Shastra, in the understanding of Satyam and Mithya. We cannot, if we are understanding Mithya and Satyam, we cannot say everything is Mithya except the marriage vows. Marriage vows are also Mithya. And in fact, even renouncing is Mithya. That is also there. So Mithya means, this is a commitment that was made, and I have outgrown this commitment. And similarly, it's not just the vow made at the time of marriage. The question of Shraddha also comes. Shraddha means the funerary rites to the ancestors. For 3 generations one offers. And at the time of sannyasa, this obligation also goes. This obligation goes. And that is very hard for some people, because they say, oh, what will happen to the Atma of my father, the Atma of my mother, my grandfather, my grandmother, like that. those doubts and those feelings will also come. Little more understanding and vairagya is needed here. And with respect to the funeral rites, the shraddha karma, and all other karmas are given up. So with regard to that, there is a final shraddha karma done for all the ancestors at the time of sannyasa. And we invoke the ancestors on the mother's side, on the father's side, and say, here we are giving you tarpanam, a kind of an offering. We are giving you tarpanam, and I am giving you tarpanam for one last time because of the decision that I am making to go further in this path and to renounce even this karma of giving tarpanam. And actually it is said they are very happy, because in one person taking sannyasa, 7 generations up and 7 down, 7 up, 7 down are released. Released means, we'll talk about that later, but they are freed. They have a chance to be freed. And so that's why the ancestors are happy when you offer them the final shraddha, because they are wanting you, they couldn't do this, and for whatever reasons, they want you to go ahead and do this, and so they bless you. So one final shraddha is given to all this. Shraddha karma is given, one whole day is spent in that, offering tarpanam. And both women and men both do it at the time of sannyasa, offering tarpanam to 3 generations of ancestors. And then you offer, you do your own funerary rites at the end of this. This is fantastic. Yeah. You are dead to yourself, and all this is in the past. Your 6 marriages and all the vows taken are in the past. and your children in the past, your brothers, sisters, in a different life. You are dead to that life. So you offer shraddha for yourself for 2 reasons. To come out of that ashes, to rise from the ashes as a phoenix and start a different life with a different orientation. But that's not the only reason, although that's a compelling reason. The other reason to offer shraddha is so that, so that you're not a burden on anybody else. After the sannyasi goes away, leaves the body, nobody is left with a burden of planning a funeral. 13th day rite and masikas, monthly rites, this rites, that's right. That is not there, because the sannyasi is unconnected to anybody else, and neither does the sannyasi keep the household fires, to which the body is the final offering. Sannyasi doesn't do agnihotra, no fire rituals, nothing. And so the burden of doing this fire ritual is not there, because it's already ready and done. You have done your own funeral, and then so nobody else needs to be burdened at all. So this way, when those rituals are extremely powerful, even if you're not into rituals, they just transform you. And then you can't help seeing that, okay, all this is in the past. And so this includes any commitments, any things. You pray to the directions, you pray to Bhagavan, you pray to all the deities, the Kula Devata, the clan deity, the household deities, and everything, the regional, the village deity, the temple deities, all of it. Your Ishta Devata, all these things, your personal deity of choice, all this you pray to and ask for permission to be totally and fully released from any promises made. It's a ritual. And then after that only, after all these rituals, then the sannyasa is given by the Guru. So therefore, by that time, one is ready. One doesn't have this wistful feeling. Pujya Swamiji used to talk about one of the first people, I don't know the name and it's not important, one of the first people to whom he gave sannyasa, and that person after 1 week started to cry and feel very guilty because the shraddha, the death ceremony, the death anniversary of the father was coming up. And he said, oh, if I don't do this, what will happen? And Pujya Swamiji had to counsel him and say, it is not done anymore. You can just let go. You're a new person now. So that, that has to sink in, that you are not the same person. You are no longer the spouse. After you decide to take sannyasa, you are not the spouse. And you can't relate that way. There is one kind of sannyasa that's not discussed in the Jivan Mukti Viveka that we are reading. It is called Apat Sannyasa. 911 sannyasa. Yeah. This anybody can take. You don't need guru. You don't need anybody to give you orange clothes. Nothing. Let's say somebody has unfortunately, God forbid, been struck by a truck and they are lying there. They know that they are not going to make it to the hospital. And they can simply say, or if they can't talk, they can simply think, I renounce everything. I am a new being. This option is there. 911 sannyasa, emergency sannyasa. Apat means emergency. Emergency sannyasa is there. And then sometimes what happens is that they have declared that they are in a new life and the karma changes and they survive. Yeah, they survive. There was no hope. The doctors give up everything and the person says, okay, I'm taking apat sannyasa, self sannyasa, 911 sannyasa, and then after that, the person is restored. You are not in a position to declare it. The person is in a dire state. Even if you say it in a state of delirium, it is valid. You don't, there at the time being wheeled into the hospital or lying on the side of the road or waiting to be pried out from a car, the person doesn't have the wherewithal to say, oh, east, west. They don't know what is west and east. They are just there. So all they have to say is, I renounce. I am no longer this, I am a sannyasi. But then, sometimes, if the prarabdha is not too strong, and if they are meant to be alive, some changes kick in and the person survives. Pujya Swamiji again used to tell of this story where a young newly married couple and the man got into some kind of an accident and said, I am a sannyasi, everything is done, and he survived. And here he was in orange, being followed by his bride everywhere he went. And then they had to be counseled and said, you please make a decision. Either you go back and live a married life, for which it's not often done, but what else to do? It's better to be honest and say, this is not for me. Or you have to not, you have to not have this kind of a duvidha, some kind of a conflict, and so like this. So that is also there. So, but still, it's a different life. So there is no wistfulness about karmas given up and vows not being fulfilled. Yeah.
Namaste. The Atma and Jiva are not the same. Atma is different and Jiva is different.
I can understand the confusion there. Jiva is Atma.
Not the same. When a
person... Wait. Jiva is Atma. Atma is not Jiva.
Yeah. So, when a person dies, the Atma will remain.
Yes.
Atma has no,
Atma doesn't go.
no,
Yes.
it will stay there only.
Yes.
So when they offer the Shraddha,
Yes.
to whom they will offer?
Very fantastic question.
Is it for the body or for the Atma?
Yeah,
If
it is
for-
neither. It is for the jivatvam, the jivahood, which is for the subtle body. Because the gross body is left here and it has been disposed of years ago. And then the subtle body is what has gone to another realm. So subtle body of the jiva, which is Atma, along with what is that? Ajnana avachinna Atma, as it were. The Atma as though conditioned by ignorance. Atma is not ignorant, but it's as though, where the ignorance has been internalized, that Atma in association with the body, subtle or gross, is called Jiva. And to that subtle body, which may be in Pitraloka, you don't know where it is, We don't know where it is. It could be in Pitraloka, it could be somewhere. So in this offering of Tarpanam, these rituals, you give some of your good karma to help them get a better life or a better existence in the hereafter. Yeah, very good question.
That is, when the body has the death, when it is gone in the funeral, there is no existence of the body.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and also Atma is different because it has, it can't be burned, it can't be
Right.
drowned, and
Right.
nothing, no action is there for the Atma.
Right.
So, why and how they offer the Shraddha to
Subtle
whom?
body,
I can't
Sukshma Shariram.
understand.
Sukshma Shariram, subtle body.
Sukshma Shariram. Oh.
Because the gross body is left behind. And what is enjoying Pitraloka, maybe the world of ancestors, is the subtle body. The subtle body. So the Atma is as though associated with the subtle body. And to that Jiva, with the subtle body, to that it is offered. Very good question. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
There is no reason for fear, even when those who see you as others and want to commit not just murder but genocide. Yeah, still there is no reason for fear. What can they destroy? Even if that is true, even if somebody wants to annihilate you, so what is the you? They can destroy the body. Body is subject to birth, death. Mind is subject to birth, death, etc. So there is no reason for fear. Fear comes. And when fear comes, it has to be welcomed, it has to be worked with on an everyday level, and it has to be healed, transcended, and it has to be the best remedy for fear is Vedanta. Vedanta Shastra gives a remedy for fear. And this is how one works with fear. So, because it is, murder is seen as the worst, because in the whole Bhagavad Gita addresses this. It's all about killing. Nahanyate hanyamane sharire. Veda avinashinam nityam. Ya enam ajam avyayam. Katham sapurushah partha kanghatayati hantikam. Know this to be unchanging. Know this I. This I is unchanging. Avinashinam. Nityam. At any given time. At all times. It is unborn. That is why it is not subject to death. It is avyaya, unchanging. Katham, how then? O Partha, son of Prithu, O Arjuna, son of Pritha. Pritha is another name for Kunti. He Kunti Putra, O son of Kunti, how can anyone kill? Kam ghatayati, how can anyone cause to kill somebody? Hanti kam, who can kill, who can cause to kill? So there is, so whether we are talking of killing of many people at once, or like it happens unfortunately in all these mass shootings, just people get a gun, they think of it as a toy, and then they just go and it's a license to just shoot. And sometimes they are hate crimes. Sometimes they are just somebody just going off mentally and not, being angry, and that anger is just outwards, put in this way. Sometimes there is no logic for this at all. Sometimes it involves children, and it's very, very difficult to understand why all this happens. But from the standpoint of Vedanta, what has gone is the body, is the mind, is the senses. What has gone was meant to be gone. And this is the vision of Vedanta, that the Atma is not subject to death. And therefore, there is no cause for sorrow, because the Gita Shastra is based on Shoka Nivritti. You see, the teaching starts with Ashocyanan Vashochastvam, 11th verse of the 2nd chapter, and goes all the way to the 18th chapter, Ma Ashuchaha. So, do not grieve. So the whole thing is based on removal of sorrow. That is the focus. But we can easily put fear in it. Fear will come because we think of it as the ending. But it is not the end. It is just the transformation of this body into something else. Usually ashes, compost. This is how to think of it. It's a continuation, it's a transformation into another form. But since we are not used to endings and we take endings as real, it causes fear. There is no reason for the fear to be there, objectively speaking, but it is there, and we can work with it, with Vedanta, with therapy, with support groups, etc. Kabir Doha. Kabir was a saint in medieval India, and he wrote some couplets, and she wants to share one. Idhar aa jao, baitho.
Saint Kabir, or in Hindi we say Sant Kabir. He was from 16th century, Varanasi, northern India. He was a simple weaver. He wrote poems and couplets. They were all based on non-dual God, Advaita. They were spiritual and philosophical, heavy-duty, profound words he wrote. The couplet I'm going to recite is right along Totak Ashtakam. Guru Govind do khade, kaake lagu paun. Guru Govind do khade, kaake lagu paun. Balihari Guru apni, Govind diyo milaye. Translation. Guru and Ishvara both are standing in front of me. Whose feet should I touch first? My utmost reverence to the Guru, who has shown me the way to Ishvara.
She's really ready. Yeah. I gave her a book. I didn't know I was going to give her a book. She's ready with a pen. What am I doing? यहाँ क्या करना है? लिखना है कुछ? Okay. I'll do this, okay? One or two, just a second, yes. Hare, Hari, Hara, very similar words. Are they synonyms? Hare is vocative of Hari. Hari is when you want to refer to Hari in the in the third person. Hari. There goes Hari. If you want to say, then you say Hari. But if you want to say, oh Hari, come here, what do you say? Hare. So it's the same, it is the same in a different context. One is vocative, one is nominative. Hare is vocative and Hari is nominative. But Hara is, Hari and Hara, they come from the same root verb, hr, to take away. So both their jobs is to take away. Take away what? Samsara. Take away what? Papa, punya. Take away what? Whatever you don't like. So they are the same, but for reasons unknown, there is a lot of the people who love Hari say, Hara not so much. And people who love Hara say, oh, who is this Hari? And therefore, only in India this is possible. We have a deity called Harihara. Half Hari, half Hara. So everybody is happy. Okay. Even people's names are Harihar, Harihara. The people's, Hariharan. People's names are there like this. Very nice. Good question. Yeah.
How to stop the transmigration of the soul? It's just the realization, Tattvamasi?
Yes, that's the only way.
Oh.
That's the only way. No other way. Understanding oneself as not subject to birth is the only way. That is the reason for this birth. No other way. If in samsara there is a pattern of suffering and joy throughout life, and if one achieves being neutral to this suffering and joyful times equally, then what's the problem? Why not come back in this neutral state? Because it's not easy. It's just not so simple as it sounds. It's not easy at all to come back to a neutral state. That's why the Gita keeps saying Samatvam Yoga Uchyate, Samaloshtasma Kanchanaha, Panditaha Samadarshinaha. Keeps on saying it in so many ways, same thing. This Samatvam is very, very elusive. Because the moment there is some joy, one actually loses it. One feels at the top of the world. Oh, yeah, this is what I'm comfortable with. This is what I want. And one gets carried away. Difficult to manage. One hits the ceiling when something joyful happens, and then when sorrow comes or difficulties or challenges come, one has a long way to fall from the ceiling. And so the managing the emotions response, the emotional response to various situations is the key. And that is the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. So we may be good. Sometimes what happens, we are good at thinking that we have transcended. Oh yeah, big deal, happiness, big deal, sorrow, I'm okay. But maybe the person is not okay. Maybe the person is just telling oneself that one is okay, but the person is not okay. And that is something only the person knows, and one has to have the intellectual integrity, honesty to see if one is just out of it and saying everything is okay, or is everything really okay. And so if everything is okay for you, that is wonderful. You can help others. Yeah, that's nice. Vivek left, or he's here? Come.
Om.
Beautiful. Fantastic. Very nice. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What is the difference between these names and concepts? Atma, Atman, Brahman, Bhagavan, Ishvara. They are synonyms. Atman, Atma means I. What I? The I, which is the indweller, as it were, of the body, mind, sense complex, who is recognized as the self-evident I. That is called Atma. Brahman is that same Atma, that same presence, that consciousness, presence, which is from the standpoint of collective. The collective presence, this consciousness from the standpoint of the collective is known as Brahman. And when that Brahman gains the power to create, so to speak, and to take back and to sustain the universe, that same Brahman has a name, Bhagavan. And Ishvara and Bhagavan are one and the same. Just a slight difference from the etymology. Ishu palane varach santata bhave means Ishu, the one who protects. And then Vara, always. The one who always protects is called Ishvara. Bhagavan is the one who has sixfold bhagas, auspicious virtues in the fullest measure. Like all knowledge, we discussed that yesterday. All knowledge, all power, all Shri, abundance, all resources. And that is called Bhagavan. So, the one word missing here is Jiva. Yeah, so everything else has been covered. So, Jiva here is the one that doesn't know I am Atma. That is the one. That is what we are trying to do in this ashram, in the Gurukulam, is to understand the oneness of Atma and Brahman, of Jiva, Ishvara, etc. Okay? Yeah. हाँ जी, बोलिए. Yes.
Pranam Swamini ji. Mahabharata took place 5,000 years ago. Most like, I don't know, but I heard 5,000 as by spiritual book. So that means the God did appear in the Lord Krishna that time. When at the war, Arjuna did not, did not believe what Lord Krishna saying about rebirth and other messages. He had a great doubt. At the end, Lord Krishna ended up saying that, Arjuna, you had to know who I am, who really I am. But to see me, you need a divine eyes. And I am going to give to you divine eyes to know who I am. Then Arjuna was able to see Lord Krishna, who really he is. If we believe in our spiritual book, this spiritual book, this earth and galaxy is billion years old as per scientists and NASA information we have in current time. So anywhere in our spiritual Veda books saying when next avatar take place, come to earth, is any hint in our any Veda books?
Yes, yes, it is there. At the end of Kali Yuga, it is said, Kalki will come on a horse and then won't say much. We'll just, and a horse carrying a sword. We'll just, use the sword on people who have not been dharmic. That is a Puranic tale is there. However, I don't think we should wait for avatars to come. The whole Vedanta philosophy is as non-messianic, if there is such a word, how do you say that? As possible. There is no savior, because one is not bound. Even though we may say Trahimam, it sounds nice in a shloka, that's all. It's just for bhavana, it's just for the sentiment. But the whole idea is you're not bound and you don't need somebody to come and save you. Even though the Gita says, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam, in order to destroy the wrongdoers and in order to sustain the people who are following dharma, sambhavami yuge yuge, I'll keep coming, there is a promise. But that doesn't mean that we have to wait for avatara to come. And in fact, every grain of Vedanta philosophy is anti that. Because, the avatars come when they are supposed to come, they come. In the meantime, please carry on. This is the message. Please carry on. Do what you're doing and study this Shastra so that the need for this savior, which is so inbuilt into, it's the baby's need. Where is mummy? Where is daddy? And when that one baby's need comes into contact with the collective, and so all the inner children say, where is avatara? But we must not be avatara dependent, because the philosophy is not avatara dependent at all. And in fact, even now we are having avatara. This pandemic is an avatara of Bhagavan. Yeah. That's why I call it Karuna virus. Because look at how many people, what was its purpose? Its purpose was to make people believe in and go for online Vedanta classes. That was its sole purpose. Not just Vedanta, church services are being zoomed on Zoom. Church services, mosque services, all these temples. And before all this was just, we had to go to a certain place. We were still in some, we were not quite there where it needed to be. We were not in a position to discover the, achaloyam, this is unmoving and this cannot be destroyed, etc. And so here with all the lockdowns, 2.5 years. So, for 3 years now, almost, we have been confined more or less to our homes, gingerly setting out at great peril and not being able to be with one another in the ways that we are used to. So we have to look at everybody slightly suspiciously. Where have you been? Who have you been with? This is called contact tracing. And you have to isolate, and you have to, keep a distance. This is just it has somehow made it easy to discover the glory that is oneself. It has made it easier. And so all the Swamis are coming home, beamed through the, laptop and tablet in your rooms. And so this is a great blessing in a way. So in a way, this itself is you don't have to have it. There are Maha Avataras which are called Purna Avataras. They are called multitasking Avataras. They do many things at once. Look at the life story of Lord Krishna. Then there is something called Amsha Avatara. Amsha Avatara means one job Avatara. Like the Matsya Avatara, Kurma Avatara, etc. One job. They had to just save the earth from the deluge and then they were done. So like that. There are minor avatars, major avatars. So in fact everything, you don't have to wait for this avataranam, means the descent, so to speak, of Bhagavan on the human realm. Because Bhagavan is not away from the human realm. Better used is our time to discover the avatara right here, right now. And I don't mean the movie called Avatara. Okay? To discover that everything is Ishvara, every manifestation is Ishvara. That is what it's inviting us to do. So that is what I would say. So let's not wait for Kalki, okay? You can have lots of fun before then. Finding the true self, yet becoming one with Ishvara. It's not Ishvarar, but it is Ishvara. And so what is the true self if it is not individual and unique, etc.? Very important question. Good. So, what is this self? The self means I am in a body, right? It has its uniqueness, it has its quirks, it has its talents, it has its challenges and its liabilities, it has its potential. So, how does this connect to what we are calling the universal self? How does it connect to Atma, Brahman, etc.? And then I think there is unexpressed, there is a concern. So, what do I have to give up in order to be one, quote unquote, with this true self, quote unquote? And then if I give up all these things to be one with the true self, then I'm not myself anymore. What happens to my individuality? What happens to my talents? What happens to my potential? To this questioner, I would say that all that will remain. It will not go away. We are not talking of some kind of a jiva melting pot where all the jivas go and they are melted, just like all the ornaments, golden ornaments. You have the ear ring, you have the nose ring, you have the bangle, you have the chain. And the jeweler takes all of them and puts them in a little foundry. And there it is smelted. The chain is no longer chain but just molten gold. The earring is no longer earring. The finger ring is no longer finger ring. The bangle, Ram Naam Satya Hai, no longer bangle. All of them are gone. All of them are transformed into molten gold. So this is the scenario that one can find frightening, and then one can be put off of Vedanta, because if this is the case, if I'm going to lose my individuality, and if I'm no longer going to be who I am, then what is the point of quote unquote merging into the whole and losing myself? An important concern. But here we are not talking of that kind of a merging, like the example just given. Here we are just looking at ornaments as they are. And the ornaments are being given a master class. By what? By another ornament called Guru ornament. And what does the Guru ornament say? You are not chain, you are not ring, you are just gold. It's a cognitive shift, not an actual melting down of the individual talents, etc. It's a cognitive shift, it's very subtle. But then if you ask me, why this shift? Because the chain has a complex. If the chain had a human mind, it would certainly have a complex. I'm all hidden behind folds of material. I am not visible to the world. This woman is a hypochondriac. All the time she just keeps on putting scarves and mummifies herself. And I don't have any air. I'm used to the open. And I have such nice designs. And I'm studded with precious stones. But who would know? This silly lady keeps hiding. And all the time clutching me like this, she's smothering me. She doesn't know how to mother. She only smothers. This is the chain of events. Yeah. Then the chain is slightly envious of the bangle. Because whenever the woman goes to office, hello, how are you? The bracelet, the bangle shines. It is out in the open. It enjoys sun. It enjoys air. Oh Lord, in the next life, make me a bangle. This is the chain's prayer. Don't think all is well with the bangle either. Bangle has its own problems. Especially the woman is a water freak because she's always washing hands, and after COVID it has increased all the time. And the bangle thinks I was so chubby and so shiny, and this woman just keeps putting water. And she's not the most graceful lady. She just, she just goes and bangs me against the chair. That's why I'm called Bangle, because I have to endure so many bangs every day. And I have dents and cuts and scratches. Praise, oh Lord. The bangle with a human mind, okay? Yeah. You have to remember that. So, oh Lord, in the next life, make me a chain, because look how protected. She's always protecting it. Nobody protects me. I'm out in the open. She doesn't care what happens to me. She's always worried about that chain. That useless chain. Oh Lord, make me a chain. This is why Bhagavan does not need cable TV. Yes. Because every jiva is a reality show. Yeah. Just switch the channel and see all these things. Bhagavan said this time it's very easy. Just switch them around, easy. Next life, chain became bangle, bangle became chain. How do you think that went? How do you think that worked out for them? Not very well. First few hours, the bangle turned chain was proud and happy. Until the woman sneezed once and then put on another sweater. Panchakosha, 5 sweaters. And she thought, something is happening, I'm getting a cold. Is it COVID? Oh no, I better bundle up. Then the bangle, who was used to a lot of fresh air, water and sunlight, suddenly could not breathe. Said, what is this? What have I gotten myself into? This is terrible. This is horrible. I want out. And how did it work for the chain now bangle? Again, for the first few, shake hands. When the woman shook hands, it was very happy. Said, this is what I deserve. And suddenly the woman turned around, somebody called her from behind and then hit the bangle, chain turned bangle, against the wall. The chain fainted. The chain which is now bangle was very delicate, darling. Yeah, then it came to like that, And it said, "Oh Lord, next life, what? Make me back a chain. Yeah. Let me be back in the chain." This is what is meant in the Bhagavad Gita, Swadharme nidhanam shreyah paradharmo bhayavaha. So whatever form, whatever name, whatever talent, whatever challenges that one has is for one to reckon with in this life. That doesn't go away in the face of knowledge. When one gets Atmajnanam, it's not that one becomes a clone of the other. Otherwise the world would be so boring and one would run away from the concept of Atmajnanam. You don't lose, you only gain. You gain the freedom that you already yearned for, and you knew it was non-separate from you, but you did not know how to access. You lose Atma Ajnanam, self-ignorance you lose. But you don't lose your individuality. You lose it in one way, in the sense that you're not addicted to it anymore as an expression of you. It becomes a vibhuti. It becomes a glory. It becomes something to delight others with, not something to define who you are. There is a very big difference. Like Lord Krishna, we picture him with yellow clothes, flute, what else? Peacock feather in the hair. All this is not for Krishna. It is for us to delight in. To say, that is Krishna. So even if there is an abstract painting of Krishna, we can recognize with these insignia. So it is for us. It's a glory. If you snatch the flute away from Krishna, he's not going to sit and cry and say, what about my individuality? Yeah, so individuality remains, but it is badhita, sublated. It is as though it has been cognitively transcended. So there is no need to express oneself in that habitual way any longer. But one is free to do so because one can. That's how it is. I hope that made it clear. Any other questions? Okay. Yes.
In the lecture, so in the lectures in the morning and yesterday, when you were discussing the importance of knowledge, you mentioned that action itself can't give you Brahmajnanam.
Yes.
And intuitively that makes sense to me. And so I guess based on that, I was wondering, when we look at the yogas, what is the spiritual path through the lens of the yogas? Is there any sort of progression from one to the other, or are they simultaneous to an extent? And how does that work?
The yogas is something that was popularized by Swami Vivekananda, who brought Vedanta to the West, who was one of the first spiritual leaders that brought Vedanta to the West. It does not have Shastric sanction. He did it so that people would understand better. From the Shastric point of view, there are two. You see, first we have to understand what yoga is. Yoga means nishtha, nitaram sthitihi. A committed lifestyle is called yoga because the word yoga has many meanings. We should make this clear first of all. So, a committed lifestyle. Both in the Bhagavad Gita, which is an iteration of the Upanishad, and in the Ishavasya Upanishad before that, two kinds of lifestyles are talked about as yoga. In the Ishavasya Upanishad, it says, One is this, kurvan eveha karma ani jiji vishet chatagum samaaha. This is karma yoga. This is the elucidation of karma yoga, and it has the Shruti backing because it is an expression of the primary text called Ishavasya Upanishad, called Shruti. And then Ma gridhak kasya svidhanam tena tyaktena bhunjithaha ma gridhak kasya svidhanam. This is Jnana Yoga. Tyaktena bhunjita, the tyaga has come. Bhunjitha here usually means, enjoy, but here it means protect in this particular context. Protect the self by giving everything up. This is the sannyasa marga called Jnana Yoga in the Bhagavad Gita. At the opening of the 3rd chapter, we have the Lord saying this. Loke asmin dvividha nishtha. 2 kinds of lifestyles were given by me in this world. Pura prokta maya. It was talked about before by me. Where? In the Ishavasya Upanishad, which is again an expression, the words of Bhagavan. What are the yogas? Jnana yogena samkhyana. Here Sankhya is not a darshana here. It's not a philosophy. Here Sankhya means the sannyasis. For the people who are ready to give up and go, for them, Jnana Yoga. Straight away. Karma Yogena Yoginam. But if you are interested in moksha, but unable, you find yourself unable to drop everything, then you prepare for the knowledge while also studying Vedanta, while also having, doing your duties or your obligations. This is what it is. So the first one is Moksha Express. You straight away go. And the other one is a train with a few stops. It is also headed the same way. One stop is schooling. Another stop, college. 3rd stop, job. 4th stop, marriage. 5th stop, children. 6th stop, midlife crisis. Then 7th stop, moksha, like this. But still it is headed the same way. You don't get off at the stops. You just enjoy the stop and then you continue. It's just like if you go to the airport and you have a lot of time and you have started early. So let's say you have some laundry in the car, you drop it off at the dry cleaners. Then you think, oh, they don't give any food these days. Let me go pick up something. You go to the supermarket. When at the dry cleaners, where are you headed? Airport. So anything I ask, the answer is airport. Okay? So don't disappoint next time. So when you are at the dry cleaners, where are you headed? Airport. Then you go to the supermarket to pick up a sandwich. When you are doing that, where are you headed? Airport. Then you see you have still more time. You call your friend who lives near the Then the friend says, why don't you just come over here and then I'll drop you to the yeah. So this way, you're going so many places. You're visiting a friend, you're going to the supermarket, you're going to, maybe you need to have the car looked at. You did that also. It took a little while. And then you filled up some gas. That took care of this month's salary. And then, then finally, you are at the airport. But the whole time, when you're doing this, the orientation is what? Airport. You don't start shopping for the rest of the week at the supermarket. You just pick up what you need to eat at the airport. You're headed always to the airport. This is Karma Yoga. You're headed to moksha. There are a few stops in between. That one does not lose sight of. So the lifestyle is slightly different. The destination is the same. Does that make sense? Yeah. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतङ्गमय ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ